Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Matt Connect webinar. Today, we're going to give you some room to grow, progressing a student through Matt Connect's interfaces. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here for this series of webinars as we look at different aspects of the Matt Connect. Again, today, this is Room to Grow. We're going to teach you how to progress a student through the different interfaces. So you'll learn about the interfaces, what they are, and how to know when to go from one to the next one. Let's begin with our opening poll questions today. As always, we want to know what your job title is. We want to know where you're from, and we want to know how you heard about the webinar. Always important to know how you're hearing about things and that you're getting the information from us. And then we have some content questions to go along with those basic ones. So we want to know how many of your students are using the Matt Connect. So the choices are 1 student, 2 to 5 students, 6 or more students, or not applicable. We want to know, are the majority of the students you serve using the beginner, intermediate, or advanced Matt Connect interface? Now, you're going to pick the one category that is most applicable to you. You may have students using all of them. Pick the one that's most applicable: beginner, standard, advanced, or not applicable. And then finally, are you using the Matt Connect skills checklist? We've talked about this before in webinars. Are you using that checklist? Yes, no, or not applicable. For our housekeeping for today, things you need to know. Please put your questions in the chat. We're going to definitely be using that even early on to ask you some questions. So please be ready to answer those for us. Our presenters will certainly appreciate the information you give them today. There may be a time the chat's turned off for a demonstration, but most of the time it will be on. 1.5 hours ACV REP credit. We'll get that code to you in a little bit. We will have closed captioning available to you as well. Joining us today, we have 2 presenters. We have Eric Beauchamp, Director of Product Management for HumanWare, who has been doing these webinars for us since the start. And then joining us again, as he has for the last few, Roger Steinberg, Product Manager for Low Vision Products at HumanWare. These guys have done a great job getting you information about the Matt Connect, and we hope to continue that today. Let's talk about some challenges, things that you've had to deal with. Many low vision tools have a limited set of features, and that means you have to have new tools to purchase to get students to progress. So sometimes it's hard to use one tool and let them progress through, and we're going to tackle that today with the Matt Connect. Teachers need assistance determining when to advance a student to a new interface. How do I know when to do that? And with so many features, it can be challenging to maximize all that the Matt Connect can do. We're going to definitely work on helping you with that today. And our learning objectives, before we get you your code, let's talk about our learning objectives. We're going to learn how to set up 3 different interfaces on the Matt Connect. We'll understand when and how to advance a student through the Matt Connect's interfaces. We'll compare the Matt Connect's 3 interfaces and explain the benefits of each one of them. And we'll describe how to use the locking mechanism for the Matt Connect's tablet and determine how to use the Matt Connect skills checklist to track student progress.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here again today. I love these webinars. I love seeing also familiar names in the participants or attendees of webinars. That means that there is an interest, and I'm happy to share that interest with you. Just before we start, I wanted to add a little poll question for you guys, and maybe type in the answer in the chat because we didn't have time or access to the poll beforehand. I'd like to know what is the first activity, or what's the most time that your student is going to spend either reading or writing? What percentage of the time your student is going to read or write? Are they going to read more, or are they going to write more? So either maybe type in read for they're going to read more, or write if they rate more under or when using the Mat Connect. So that's going to help me out on trying to address or continue on this webinar. So thank you. And again, just type in read or rate in the chat. And moving on, I'm with Roger, and Roger will help me throughout this webinar, checking out the chat again to see if you guys want to ask questions, and do ask questions. I'm here for that, and Roger also is here for that, to answer all the questions that you have on the Mat Connect. So let me switch my camera to my Mat Connect. And usually when you receive your Mat Connect, it's going to be set as a in an advanced interface. So you'll be seeing at first boot up, you'll be seeing this kind of interface where you see the magnifier at the center of the screen, the magnifier icon. But also here, before we change to another interface, which I'm going to show you, let's say we're going to start with, well, not let's say, we are going to start with a basic interface. When using the basic interface, that means it's a young student or a student with multiple disabilities where they have a hard time using all the advanced features on the Mat Connect. And also, we've noticed with these young students, they're always playing with the little clip that is at the bottom that holds the tablet. So what we've done is that we've incorporated a hold right underneath the clip, and that is to put in a screw. And all of the new Mat Connects now come with a little screwdriver and a screw. So you can screw in that little screw, and it's going to lock in that clip. And once the student gets older and stops playing with the clip, because playing with the clip means that maybe the tablet will fall off the stand, and you don't want that. So then you can take the screw out, but the student cannot do it by himself. So that's a cool little trick, a cool little feature that we've added throughout the years on the Mat Connect. So let's go and set up my Mat Connect as a basic interface. So what you want to do is scroll to the right to the settings application in Prodigy. In the settings application, you'll have different options. And the first option on the top is user interface. Jim, can you confirm that you see my screen upside, well, the right side up? Because right now I'm seeing everything upside down on my screen.
It looks just fine here.
Okay, good. Thank you. And then when you select user interface, which is the first option in the first menu, the first option again on the second menu will be interface, and it has a colon, and right beside that colon, there is the advanced word. So if you tap on interface, you'll have different options in the interface menu. You'll have advanced, standard, or basic. And here our first example, we'll start off with basic. So you just tap on basic. And as you notice here, there's a checkbox or a check that's gonna appear beside basic on the right-hand side of basic. So once you've done that and you have that check mark, you can use the back button on the top left corner of the screen to go back. And what that's going to do is that it's going to limit the options that will be available on your Mat Connect. As you can see here on my screen, I am in the magnifier application right now, and it's only in live mode. So I have my hand underneath here, and you can see my hand. I have something right now that we're going to be able to read. And I've placed it right underneath the camera. And at the bottom of the screen, there is a button banner, and that button banner has only 4 buttons, and those are the 4 features that are available in basic mode. The first button on the left is your contrast button. So if I press on that, it will change the contrast colors. So here, right now, I'm going to show you how to add more colors, but here as defaults, there's going to be black on white and white on black. And when you press on the button, it's going to loop through those options. So that's your contrast button to change the contrast colors. And again, I'll show you how to add some more to that button. The second button, if I go to the right of that button, will be a distance or a distance camera button. So if you tap on that, it's going to start my distance viewing application. So let's try it out. But before tapping on that, I need to start or power on my distance camera. And the distance camera is a Wi-Fi camera, so it's a wireless camera. Here I have it here. And there's a button right on the top that I can use and press on it, and it will start the camera up. And you can just place it on the right or on the left of the Mat Connect and press that button, the second button from the left, and it will start the distance application. It's going to connect to the camera, and here I see here I have an example. I have a whiteboard and a blackboard here, right here. Once in the distance application and my camera is connected, I also have the option of 4 buttons at the bottom of the screen. The first button on the left is my back button to go back to my magnifier. The second button is again my contrast button to change my contrast colors. So each time I tap on it, it's going to change my contrast colors. And then the other 2 buttons is to zoom out or to zoom in. So the minus is to zoom out, the plus is to zoom in. So if I press and hold on the plus sign, it will start zooming in. My camera will zoom in into my blackboard right here that I have. So I have a mathematical equation on my blackboard here. If I want to zoom out, I can press and hold on my minus button. It's going to zoom out. So these are the only functions that I have on my distance viewing application. You cannot take a capture on this. It's only live, and you can zoom in, zoom out, and change the contrast. You can go back to my magnifier by hitting the back button, which is the first button on the left, and you're back to the magnifier. So continuing on the button banner that I have at the bottom. So remember on the left, it's a contrast button. The second button to the right of the contrast button is the distance viewing button. And then the other 2 buttons again is the minus and the plus sign. It's to zoom out and to zoom in. So the plus sign, again, I can press and hold, and it's going to zoom into my document. So I can zoom in, and again, I cannot take any captures. It's always in live mode. And in the basic mode, you cannot capture at all. So you can do manual tasks if you'd like to. Yeah, you can do some reading, some live reading using the magnifier. So basically, that's your basic mode. Very simple magnifier. We've dumbed down the Mat Connect to a very simple magnifier. Let's say I want to add some more contrast colors to my contrast button. So there is a secret kind of shortcut to go into menus to set up your Mat Connect when you're in basic mode. And that shortcut is press and hold on the contrast button. So that first button on the left, you press and hold. And after a while, after a couple of seconds or 10 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, you'll be brought to a menu. This is where you can set up your Mat Connect. So if I want to add some more contrast colors on my button, here in this menu, I have the first option on the top is my contrast option. So if I tap on contrast, you can change the contrast on my text and buttons. So if I prefer white on black, or your student prefers white on black, you can choose the interface to be white on black all the time. And you have different other colors in the list. So you just tap on the different color that you want to set for the student. Going back, the second option in my contrast menu is magnification. So if I tap on magnification, this is where I can add some more colors to my contrast button. As you notice here, my 2 first options is black on white and white on black. But let's say I want to add to my list black on yellow and black on orange. So I just tap, and there's a checkbox that's going to appear on the right-hand side of that option that is going to say that it's going to be added to my button. So if I go back to my magnifier or my home application for my basic interface and tap on the contrast button, I will have 4 contrast options now, which we've added the yellow on black on yellow and black on orange. So now my student has done first year, second year, and would like to do more with the Mat Connect. There is a way of increasing or going from basic to standard interface. And again, I'm going to use my contrast button to press and hold to go into my menu. And in my menu, the second option in my menu is settings. So if I tap on settings, you'll be brought to another menu. And the first option on the top is user interface. So you tap on user interface. And again, in user interface menu, there is a first option, which is the interface : basic. Tap on that and you'll be brought to the interface menu. And you can select the standard this time as an interface. And I'm gonna let Roger explain when is the right time to switch your student from basic to the standard interface.
Thanks, Eric. As was mentioned in the opening questions, it looks like about 23%, if I got the number correct, are using the Mac Connect skills checklist, which I believe Jim just posted in the chat will be shared as part of this webinar afterwards. Certainly that will go through skills that that your student or user will master in using the device itself. But there are certain other factors that we want to take into account. And, and to be honest up front, you'll probably use these factors as you make the determination when you first open up the Mac Connect and decide, am I going to place my user into basic, standard, or leave the device in advanced, which is the default out of the box interface. But there are several factors that will be taken into consideration. And the first of those is going to be the age of the user. So as you saw with Eric going into the basic mode, it's a very slimmed down functional set. And Jim mentioned, or you're going to learn some things, I'm sorry, about things that you can do in the advanced mode that clearly when you're in basic mode are not there. So, certain age groups, there are going to be things in standard and advanced that may not be appropriate for them. You're also going to want to take into account your user's technical skills and abilities. Certainly, kids these days have much higher technical skills than I certainly would have had as computers came onto the scene as I was graduating high school. But you still have to take those into account as you're thinking about what they're going to do, because the navigation becomes a little bit more difficult, obviously, as you climb through the different interfaces. Cognitive ability is going to be important. Where is your student cognitively in terms of what they can handle with the complexities of the device, and that ties certainly into their visual capabilities as well. So you're going to want to know where they are at with their vision as they jump into using the Mac Connect. Another factor to consider is going to be their functional needs or their academic needs. The basic may not meet everything you need them to be able to do with the Mac Connect. Now, there may be cases where you decide they should start in basic and very quickly progress out of basic into standard or advanced, but certainly considering the academic needs and what you're trying to meet. As Eric demonstrated there, you're in a live mode in reading and you can turn on the distance camera to see the board, and he showed a math problem there. So very, again, basic academic support needs there, but if their needs are a little bit higher, they may need to be placed into the standard mode and then supported a little bit extra. And then I think there's always the consideration of, are there other disabilities that you're supporting at the same time and that you may need some of those features that you can tap into in standard and advanced that aren't available in basic. So those are some things. And I think the last thing, and I know that was a lot there, but I think that some of those things will take varying levels of importance. So again, it comes back to your expertise in using the checklist and knowing your student or the user that you're working with so that you can determine which of those factors should be weighted more as you make the decision to progress them through the interfaces. So just a little summary there of how to think about it as you're looking at the interfaces. And Eric's going to dive deeper here into the standard interface next, I believe.
Absolutely. But before that, I think we have a little poll question, right?
Yes, we definitely do. So This poll question relates to what we were talking about. It's an important thing that we want to make sure folks understand today. So what variables should be considered when determining to advance a student to a new interface? What variables should be considered when determining to advance a student to a new interface? Age, technical ability, change in vision, advanced coursework, or all of the above? Which one of these, or is it all of these? Age, technical ability, change in vision, advanced coursework, or all of the above?
So if you have some additional thoughts again about variables that we haven't provided there and you feel like throwing them in the chat, please feel free to do that, because those that are participating, I'm sure would welcome your thoughts about other variables that you're considering with regard to the student, their abilities and their needs. So we'll give folks a chance to weigh in. We have 51% of folks who have weighed in at this particular point in time. So to keep things moving along, I'll go ahead and end the poll and indicate that the vast majority of you picked the last option, which was all of the above. And Eric, you want to share your thoughts about that, or Roger?
Go ahead, Roger.
Sure. I believe you would want to consider all of them. And I come back to sort of the last point that I made. They will have varying levels of importance based upon the user, but there's just like anything in life, there are going to be lots of variables in the decision-making process that you're going to take into account. And certainly each of those that you had there will come into play. And actually, I didn't see anything else come into the chat, but another one that I noted was certainly when you start looking between basic, standard, and advanced, when you get into the advanced mode, maybe some behavioral issues that you may be encountering. When you get to the advanced mode, you have access to quite a bit that Eric will show. So you might want to think about students' behavior as well.
That's a good one.
I like Leslie. Leslie has dropped something in. Leslie Wilbacher has joined us. She's one of our outreach folks. Leslie, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and mention, from a teaching perspective, you being a teacher, your thoughts about that?
Sure. I was just thinking that as introducing a new device to a student, even if you know that they are going to be an advanced user, it's a nice progression to start with the basic, so you know that they're solid on those skills before adding new things and then a few more new things. It keeps everything on in that. Yeah.
Lockdown.
Well, yeah. Thank you.
She was referencing something about jumping into the deep end of the pool and starting there. So
it's easy to get pulled in a lot of different directions and then not be a master of one thing, but be a jack of all trades, I guess.
Perfect.
And concentrate on the most important features of the device, right? You want them to master the magnifier at first and the distance viewing, and then move on. As we're going to talk about the standard, we're going to add a bit more features that's going to bring them to the advanced, where you're going to have the full-blown feature set of the device. That's for sure.
Stair-stepped. That's what I was trying to think of. Stair-stepped.
There you go. Awesome. Just before we go to the standard, I'm going to share here my screen, if I may, and I'm going to show you I know that Jim and Roger are sharing the skill, the Math Connect skill checklist. I'm guessing you can see my screen, Roger.
Yep.
Can you confirm?
Yeah.
So here I went on the APH website, and I went into shop and I went to get the Math Connect, and you have all the details that you can download here for the Math Connect. And you have here in downloads, you have Math Connect skills checklist. You download that document, and what's going to happen is that it's a Word document, and you're going to have it right here. And it's pretty cool the way that we set this up. And you start off with very initials or very simple task, and when the student is accomplishing or did accomplish that task, then you put the date and the mastery level of that task, and you move on, and it gets to the more complicated stuff. So here you see here the basic interface. If the student has mastered the color contrast button, the switch to the distance, the return button to go back to the magnifier, the zoom in, the zoom out. And you got all these gestures also that are inside that skill set. And then you move on to your standard interface, and you got more icons that the student needs to learn, or gestures, or buttons that they need to master before moving on to the advanced interface. So it's a pretty cool way of monitoring the progression of your student by following this checklist. I'm going to stop sharing and go back to my webcam here. And we're going to select live your standard interface. There you go. So you just tap on standard, checkbox appears on the right-hand side, and you hit the back button, which is on the top left corner of the screen. And you're back to my home application, which is again your magnifier. So I'll be in live mode automatically, but the button banner at the bottom, we see more buttons. There is 2 buttons that were added to this button banner. So there's a couple of buttons that are the same as in the basic interface, which is the contrast button, which is the second button on this button banner. So if I tap on the contrast, it's going to change again my contrast colors. It's set it to default again, so you would need to go and add the different colors that the student would need on this button. And again, it's the same shortcut. Press and hold on the contrast button for about, say, between 5 and 10 seconds, and it will bring you to the menu. The reason why we did that shortcut is so that the student does not find that setting menu and go and change a couple of settings while you're not there, or that you don't know. So you can keep track of what settings the student is using. Right beside the contrast button, again, you have the distance viewing button. So you can tap that, turn on your distance camera, and you'll go into distance. We'll go through that again. And then at the end, to the right of the button banner, you have the plus and the minus, which again is the zoom in and the zoom out. But the 2 buttons that were added is a gallery button, which is the first button on the left, and a capture button, which is the 4th button from the left. So you've guessed it, the capture button will capture the image that you're seeing on the screen, and the gallery button is to bring you to that captured image. So let's try that. So let's capture the document that I have under my camera here. And what's going to happen, you're going to go into there's going to be a progress circle that's going to be shown. And it's going to try to find text in the image. And it's taking a while. That should be relatively quick. I'm just going to hit the back button. I'm going to redo this here. I'm going to retake a capture. Oh, wow. Oh, I did it. Oh, okay, we missed it. So let's try it again. Just, you always have 3 times, right? And it's always when we do a presentation that things like that happen, and it happens to everybody. But it should fall, you know, in a relatively good situation. And I tried this a couple of minutes ago before the webinar. So let's move forward. I already have it captured in my gallery. So we can hit the gallery button, and I will be brought to my the images that are saved in my gallery. So there's 2 ways in navigating into my gallery. The one way is to go with my finger. So go from left to right or right to left. And that's you can switch by one image to the other. Or there's 2 buttons that have been added in the middle of the screen on the right and on the left, and they're arrow buttons. So you can tap on the arrow buttons. That's going to bring you to the next image, just as so. And you want to select the image. You can select the image, and you'll have the diamond edge. The diamond edge is the text that has been replaced over the image. That is, I'm going to say, computer font. And as you can zoom in using your pinch and zoom, which I'm using right now with my fingers, or I can use the plus or the minus to zoom in or to zoom out, and the plus and the minus are on the button banner. On this button banner, you have several buttons here. You have 6 buttons. So the one on the left, the complete left, is your back button to come back to your home application, which is the magnifier. Second button is to go back to my gallery. The third button is my contrast button, so that you can change between different contrast colors, and to also the diamond edge font, which is my computer font. And then you have the fourth button, which is the play button, the play pause button. So I can start reading the text that I have found on my image just by pressing that button. And it's going to start reading. Right now, my speech is at off. I can show you how to turn on the speech, but right now it's reading it at off. I like having it at off because then you can follow and you can have the student read it by himself and learn how to read comfortably. You can pause that. And again, the plus and the minus to zoom in and zoom out. You can tap once or twice to do it low increments, or you press and hold on the button and it's going to gradually move into or zoom in to the document. So that's your standard interface. As you saw, there's the OCR part of things, a capture part of things that have been added, and a gallery that was added compared to the basic interface. Now the distance interface, I'm going to start my camera like last time. So I'm just going to press my power button, and I'm going to press the distance button, which is the third button from the left. Now the camera should connect. And as soon as the camera is connected, you can see at distance my blackboard with my math equations that I have there on my blackboard. Again, the same buttons that I have on my basic interface for the distance will be for my distance on my standard interface. So the first button on the left is my back button to go back to my magnifier. The second is the contrast, so to change the contrast colors, and the plus and the minus sign to zoom in or zoom out of my picture. Again, I like using, for distance, I like using the buttons because I can press and hold and it's going to gradually zoom in to my picture. If I use the pinch and zoom, it's only going to do one increment at a time, unfortunately. So use the buttons to zoom in and zoom out on the distance camera. It's a lot easier to use this way. So again, the student has grown up, passed his grades, has done several exams, several exercises, and he masters this standard interface, and you want him to move or her to move up and to the advanced interface. Again, I'm going to ask Roger, when do we determine that is the student ready for the advanced interface?
So here again, I think, Eric, we look at the checklist that we've shared, make sure that they have mastered what they need to in terms of the Mac Connect at the standard level, but then take into account those other factors that we talked about in terms of, what do they need academically? Are there behavior issues that would preclude or make you say, yeah, I don't really want to put them in the advanced mode? And really take into account those, all of the above that we saw in that first poll to make the determination. So if they're successful here, but they don't need the other tools, then maybe there's no reason to advance them just yet. So again, it comes back to, I think, the teacher's professional judgment, as well as, where is that student performing?
Excellent, thank you, Roger. I see that we have a little question in the chat. Can you take a picture when in distance viewing, not in standard mode? That's going to come in advanced mode. So you'll be able to capture in advanced mode, but not in standard or basic. And I think we have a little poll question before we move on to how we go from standard to advanced interface.
Thanks, Eric. So the question is yes or no. In the standard interface, are you able to capture a page and have the text read back? Yes or no? In the standard interface, are you able to capture a page and have the text read back? Yes or no?
All right, so we've got some responses coming in, and we will go ahead and end that. If you do have any questions for Eric or for Roger, we do want to encourage you to go ahead and place those questions into the chat. You can respond to those either by typing them in, or at pauses like this, respond to them verbally. So we've got participation at this particular point in time to the question. The majority of folks have said yes. You are able to capture and have information read back, and obviously Eric was spending time going through that. Obviously you can have the information read aloud, or you can magnify it and have it highlighted in column or like in a ticker tape mode. So yes is the correct answer to that question. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the poll question. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to kick it back to Eric and Roger to continue along.
Thank you. And you're totally right. You are able to capture and have the text read out loud. My speech was at off, but you can turn it on, and that I'm going to show you that before going to the advanced. Again, same shortcut as before. I'm just going to close my poll question window here. There we go. You press and hold on the contrast button for a couple of seconds, and you'll be brought to a menu. You have the same options as in the basic interface, which is the first option on the top is the contrast. You can change the contrast on your menus or on your interface, or add color contrast on your contrast button. Settings is going to be your full-blown settings, and then the third option is speech. So right now, as you can see on the screen, we have speech at off. So if I tap this speech off, you have different speeches that can be set, or settings that you can use. So one of them is documents only. So it's only it's going to only read out the documents that have been scanned or that have been captured. And then the third option is speech on. On speech on, what will happen here is that all the menus will be read out loud to you, and also the document that has been captured. So the main difference between speech on and documents only is that on speech on, all the menus will be spoken out. So if I select documents only here, I'm going to go back by hitting the back button on the top left corner. You can also here in this menu, you can change the voice that you're using. Right now, what do I have set up on this Matt Connect? I got Heather, and that's the only one I have, but you can select other voices. You can delete the gallery content, and you can put the autofocus to lock or unlock. So the lock would be to do manual task, and unlock would be an autofocus that's going to do automatically focus on the page and at the correct level for you. But here, let's move on to my advanced interface. We're going to select settings, which is the second option in my menu. And this is going to bring me to my full-blown settings in Prodigy. And I will go into user interface. Again, the first option on the top. And the first option again on the top is interface, :standard. Tap on that, and we're brought to my interface menu. And we're going to go and tap on advanced. By tapping on advanced, my checkbox is going to advance to the advanced, and you'll have the checkbox or the check on the right-hand side of the advanced word. And then hit the back button, which is on the top left corner of the screen. And we're back to the first interface that we saw at the beginning when we received our Mat Connect, when we opened the box and we turned it on for the first time. And this is the full-blown Prodigy. Let me just go through a couple of things that we can do with the full-blown Prodigy or the full-blown Mat Connect. There's a couple of new things. The first that is centered on the screen is your magnifier. So if I tap on magnifier, you'll be brought to my live mode, a bit like what we had in the different basic and standard mode, with your button banner at the bottom, but with different buttons. So the back button is still there. And so you can go back to the main menu or the main carousel. The settings menu is all the settings that can be set on the magnifier will be in here. So if I tap on the button settings, which is the second button, you can adjust here the brightness, the color contrast, if you want it in live mode, the autofocus, the speech. So everything that you can use in the magnifier, this is where you can set it here. You even have the option of using the camera, the rear camera or the front facing camera. So if the student wants to groom, let's select the front camera and go back. I should be able to see myself with my beautiful face on the Mat Connect. Awesome. Let's go back to my rear camera. So I hit again the settings menu and I'm going to select camera and it's going to go back to my rear camera. So that's the settings. So everything that has to do with the magnifier application is in that settings menu. You have a little light bulb after that, which is a light bulb is to turn on or off the lights underneath. So just by tapping on it, I shut down the lights, or tapping back on. If ever that is grayed out, let's say your student is using the Mat Connect and all of a sudden one day that's grayed out, you just need to undock and redock the tablet and it's going to reset that. The reason why is that sometimes the USB communication is not well initiated and it could bring that problem. So if you have that problem, undock the tablet and redock the tablet. That should solve it. Or if you have the screw in there, unfortunately, you can reboot the tablet and that can do it. You have the capture button to take a capture and have the text read out loud. So as on the standard interface, and the plus and the minus button to zoom in and zoom out. So that's the magnifier application. We don't have any distance button. So you can't access the distance application from the magnifier, but you can access the magnifier from the distance application, which I'll show you. If I move to the left, I have the APH toolbox. In the APH toolbox, this is only on the Mat Connect. So if I don't know if people are listening that are using the Connect 12, this is not available on the Connect 12. It is only available on the Mat Connect, but it's a preset application list that has been installed for you and it's been listed on the APH toolbox. So these are applications that have been installed from the Google Store automatically for you when it was manufactured, and you have access to these applications. You can add, if you want, more applications by hitting the settings menu on the top right corner. There's a little button which the two gears on them. You can choose application. You can organize the application, what you want to have on the top of the list or the bottom of the list. You can choose other applications, and by choosing an application, these are all the applications that are available that are already installed on the tablet. So for example, if I want to add Chrome to this list, I can select Chrome, just tap on it and go back to my list, and Chrome will be added at the top of my list here. So that's the APH toolbox, very useful. So you don't need to go into the Android interface to use the other applications that are installed on the tablet. If I move again further down the list here, we have on the left here from the APH toolbox, we have notes. This is kind of like a notepad for the student. So you can take any kind of note that you want. So here I have an empty gallery of notes. I have two buttons, one on the left, one on the right. On the right hand side, on the top corner, there's a plus button. Tap on the plus button and the menu will appear to create either a new note or a category. So you can classify your notes. So for example, let's say I'm in chemistry and I want to take some notes. You can create a category called chemistry, And all your notes that you're going to take for chemistry, you can put all that in the same place. So let's create just a new note here, and it's going to create a blank page. And you can use either a stylus, either a Bluetooth keyboard, even your finger to start writing a note. So here I can write, I'm going to tap, well, first of all, I'm going to edit my note. So I'm going to tap on my third button from the left, which is a little pencil. And I will write my name here, just as an example. So I use my finger. I can use a stylus. Any kind of stylus will work, or I can use also a Bluetooth keyboard that can be connected. And all the new Mat Connects now come with a Bluetooth keyboard, which I'd like to show you, which is a large print keyboard. So all the new Mat Connects now come with this keyboard, and also comes with a stylus. So you can use that. Once you've finished, tap on that little arrow at the bottom, the button banner is going to come up, and you go back by using the back button, and it's going to be stored automatically. So these are all, it's a note application. It's like your notepad. So let's go back to my main menu again. So I'm at my notes icon. If I go to the left again, I have an application called distance. This here is to see what my distance camera is seeing. So I turn on my distance camera, tap on distance. It's going to connect again to my distance camera, and we should see my blackboard here. There we go. And here different things happen. And the button banner again is still there, but with new buttons. You can take a capture. The capture, you take the capture, it's going to be stored in the gallery, which I'm going to show you soon, in a folder called distance. And you can take those captures and bring it into the root of the gallery, and the OCR will be done. The OCR is a character recognition. So it will capture and detect the characters on an image, a distance image. So for example, let's zoom in here, using my plus button here to zoom in. And my son wrote some text here on my whiteboard, but I'm going to zoom in here. I have an example of text here. I'm just going to go in, try to get most of the text here. As you can see, the image quality is so-so because we're far away, but I'm going to take a capture. And in the capture, the image is going to be, and the quality of the image will be a lot better. And I'll be able to do character recognition on this image. And I'm going to show you this soon. So I've captured, and then I have a button for the settings. So again, these are the settings for different settings that you want to use in distance viewing. But also the really cool feature in the distance application is this little arrow right in the middle of the screen on the right-hand side. If you tap on that, it's going to split the screen for you. So on the top, I'll have my distance camera. Oops, I just changed. I went a bit too fast, so I'm just going to zoom out here. Here we go. So again, I'm going to hit that little arrow. I'm going to have my document that I have underneath here, my rear view, my that is using my rear camera on my tablet. I can zoom in using my gestures. So I pinch and zoom. So I can be maybe taking notes at the same time, looking at distance at the board here. If I select, again, there's a red rectangle that selects where the focus is. So if I tap on the top part of the screen, that I will be in my distance viewing camera. So if I do a pinch and zoom, I can zoom in or zoom out. Or if I want to go back to my distance, because it's selected, I can tap again. I'm going to go back to my distance viewing application. And the same thing if I want to go back to my magnifier. If my magnifier is selected, so just tap once and then tap a second time, I'll be brought to my magnifier application. And this is where I was at the beginning. There's also another cool gesture, and it's a swipe from left to right. That will bring me directly to my distance viewing camera. And again, back to my magnifier. So I'm just showing you a couple of things that the student can do as they grow up and they get used to the technology. There's a lot of stuff that Prodigy offers and makes it efficient for the student in the classroom. So let's go back to my main carousel. And as I told you, there is a gallery application. If I go to the right beside the magnifier, the gallery application, this is where all my images are stored. I can classify them. I can create folders. I can paste some text and have it read out loud to me. But here, this is what I wanted to show you. There's a distance folder. Tap on the distance folder. I have my image right here that I've just taken. So I press on hold on that image, and I'm going to move it to the gallery. I'm going to select that. So when I press and hold on an image, it's going to show me some actions that I can do on that image. And in the list, it was move to gallery. I moved my image into my gallery. If I tap it to see what's happening, it's going to do the OCR on it, and it should detect all the text on the image, and you can have that text read out loud. And remember, this is an image that we've taken at distance, and now I can have that read out loud to me, so I can press and hold. Again, my speech is at off, not a very good example, Eric, next time. But here I'm in column mode, and I have the text going from top to bottom, and I can read what was at distance with a nice image quality, because I've replaced all the text. I've did some OCR, replaced all the text with computer font, and I have that great image quality. So you can do some distance viewing OCR on here. So let's go back to my distance.
Hey,
yeah.
Eric.
Yeah.
Jennifer Nangle dropped in the quote, can you show how to create a folder?
Sure.
So as you're, yeah.
Awesome. Great question. Because this gallery, actually, there's a lot of features. People think the gallery that is in Prodigy, just to get a placeholder to place my images, but you can actually create, move. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do in the gallery. So to create a folder, go into press the button, the settings button on the top right corner in the gallery. So again, I'm in the gallery, top right corner, there's a little icon for the settings. There's several things here that you can do in the gallery. Create a new category. New category is a new folder. The word category is equal to folder. So you can do a new category. You can create a new page. Create a new page will create a blank page for you. Create a new document. The difference between new document and new gallery, a document can have several pages, and a category is like a folder. You can store a document inside a folder if you want. Import, you can import some PDFs if you want, or delete the gallery content. So to create your folder, I'm going to select create new category. Type in the category name. So I'm going to do test. And then when I have test, you can press the little blue button on the virtual keyboard on the top right corner. There's a little paper airplane button. Press on that, and it created my folder automatically. So let's say I want to move my image here that I've taken at distance into my new category. Press and hold on that image. That's the action menu that you can do. That's all the actions that you can do on that image, and I can move that. So the second option here, I can move into either create a new category, or I can move it into my test category. So here, if I go back to my test category, I have moved my image in there. And you can have different levels. I can create another category in this category. So you can have up to 4, if I remember, up to 4 levels of category inside one category or folder. Okay, so that's an awesome feature. The gallery is kind of like your file browser or your file explorer in your Windows computer. So you can classify, you can modify, you can create. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do. I can have a webinar, a 1-hour webinar just on the gallery if you want. So there's so many features, and please get your students to try it out. And everything is in these little settings icon. So go in the gallery, try all the different features that are on the little settings icon. You won't break it. It will just create other stuff and you'll try it out. So let's go back. how much? Okay, it's almost 1 o'clock. So we're good in time because I think this is an hour and a half, right?
That's correct.
Good.
Yep, Eric, we have one question for you, just to clarify between the Mac Connect and the Connect 12. It's asked about the Bluetooth keyboard. Is that available for the Connect 12, the stylus, and the Notes application? So three things. Are they available in the Connect 12? The Notes application, Bluetooth keyboard, and the stylus.
The stylus is included, and I think it is included in the Connect 12, the Bluetooth keyboard. Would have to just to verify that, Roger, if I'm, I'm not lying here.
Yeah, I
know
think
that,
we had it in there for a special. I need to verify whether that's permanent or not.
Yeah, for the Bluetooth keyboard, but the stylus is included though. The Notes application in the Connect 12 is different. The Notes application, you have the kind of like the same feature in the gallery. So when you go in the gallery here, go in the settings icon, just as we did previously, and you can create a new page. This new page is a blank page, and here you can write. So press the button, press the pencil icon or button, and you can right here, you can take all your notes and then classify them in your gallery at this time. So there's no separate gallery for your notes. It's all inside the gallery. I think that's all, right?
Yep.
Good. Thank you. So let's move on. Another cool feature of the advanced mode is the books application. To get access to books virtually, well, you need access to different libraries. So one very popular library is Bookshare. And at the beginning of the pandemic last year, remember we did a Bookshare presentation with Bookshare actually. And we've added an application called Books in Prodigy, which is, as you can see, the same look and feel as all the other menus, big menus, accessible, that you can change the color contrast, and and this books application, you'll be able to subscribe or put in your credentials for any kind of library that's available. So this uses the Dolphin API, which is the same API for Easy Reader application. So I'm pretty sure most of you know the Easy Reader app from Dolphin. But basically, if I go into manage libraries in this menu, there are two different kind of libraries, one for books and one for magazines. So for example, if I go in books providers, there's all kinds of libraries available to you. So anywhere in the world, so in Canada, I think it's Sella, if I'm not mistaken. So in Canada, it's Sella library. Tap on that, it's gonna ask you for your credentials. If you have credentials for the Sella library, you enter that and you'll have access to your Sella account to download books. But here for this example, I have already logged in to my Bookshare account. So once you're logged in, you have a checkbox saying that you already logged into this library. So now you can have access to and search all the books that are in Bookshare. So if I go through this list of options that I have in my books application, I have my books. My books is all the books that I have downloaded. So one book here that I've downloaded here was proposed in Roger's list here, The Christmas Pig. So that's one book that I have downloaded in my books. My subscriptions, this is a magazine. So you can subscribe to magazines and you'll have updates of your magazines monthly or depending on when they come in here. Managed libraries, we already did that. So that's to access to any kind of libraries or in the available libraries. Bookshare periodical, so that's because I have already logged into my Bookshare account and have access to periodicals, so I can search for any kind of magazine and subscribe to those. And Bookshare is where I can search for books. So if I select, for example, Bookshare, it's going to bring me to another interface where I can search for, I can search by entering any text. I can have a reading list already made. So if, for example, you teacher have access to the Bookshare account as a teacher, you can go in the web browser on your PC, add some reading material for your students, and your student will have access to the reading list that you make it available here for the student. You have access to the history, the latest, the most popular. You can search by ISBN. You can browse by category, or you can browse by grade. So that's all everything that you can do in Bookshare. And once you've downloaded, you have a little summary of that book. You can download the book, and it's going to show up in your in My Books menu, in the main menu of the Books application. So that's the Books application, very popular application. I invite you to take a look at it and use the Books application. And then the last application at the far left of my carousel is the calculator, the calculator application. So if I press on this, it will offer an accessible calculator. There are 3 kinds of calculators that we offer here. And again, that can grow with your student. And the most basic one is offered by default. So you can do any basic arithmetic. But if you go to a high school level or maybe higher, you can have different other calculators. So and to set those interfaces, you have 2 buttons on the left-hand side, the top corner. You have the back button or the settings button. And again, it's always the same icon, the settings button. So tap on that, you'll see the options for that application. And here you have different things that you can do, or you can do on the calculator, but one of them, which is the first option on the top, is the mode setting. So if I tap on mode, there's 3 different modes that I can set. So the standard, which is the basic standard calculator that we just saw. You can have scientific calculator. The scientific calculator, if I go back to my calculator, will add in some new functions. So instead of having a 0, 0 at the bottom center of my keypad and my screen, there's a 2 arrow button, which will bring you to other types of functions. So here I have a sine, cosine, tan, exponential functions, and this is going to give you all the calculations and give you the result in number. If you want to have the graphical display of these functions, there is a graphical calculator offered to you. Again, in the settings menu, we go in mode and select graphing. And this is where you can graph. This is cool. This is with the API, the Desmos API, you have access to write any kind of equation and have it graphed out for you. And again, you have that 2 arrow button here that you can use to access different other functions here. So let's try one. I have to go back here. So what you want to do to write a function, let's do y is equal to, let's select cosine. Not sure if I'm in degrees or radians, but let's try it out anyways. We'll see if it works. So here I have y is equal to cosine 90, and I'm going to use the graph button, which is on the far right of my keypad, and I'm in rads, so that's why it's just a straight line, but it graphed out my function. But let's change this here so that I can show. Actually, this is what I want to do, because I want it to move over time. So y is equal to cos and x in brackets. So this is where you're going to see your cosine, and you have it graphed out. And again, you can take a capture of this, use the second button on the button banner, and it's going to save it automatically into your gallery in your main menu. And I can zoom in, zoom out on this graph, but here I've just captured this image, and I can go back to my main menu and go to my gallery, and it will be in my screenshot folder, and my graph is there. So it's inside my gallery now. I can do the same thing in my gallery, which just was just added actually. So let's go into my test folder, and is it here? And I can't remember how to do this. There's a way of doing a graph when in the gallery. You remember, Roger? anyways, it's going to come back to me. But this is a way of, go ahead.
Eric, we gotta have a question in the chat about the features of the Desmos online or the Desmos calculator. And the question is does this have all of the features of the online version of the Desmos calculator?
Most of the features, but not all. I can't, I'm not sure what is not included. I would have to do a study, but you would need to go through all the functions, but we've tried to add most of the functions that are available at Desmos. I cannot have two, for example, I cannot have two graphs on my graphing image here. You know, I can only do one function at a time. I think Desmos, you can have two different graphs. You can have the equation written beside the graph. We don't offer this on this. So these are kind of like differences that you have on online and on the Prodigy. You have that's basically what I know top of my head, but it does include most of the features, but not all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This was all the applications that is accessed through Prodigy. There's two applications that are left, is the settings application, where here you can set up your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, all through the Prodigy system, being an interface with a lot of accessibility. You can big fonts, contrast colors, so you don't need to go into Android to set up all of your tablet or all of your device. Everything can be done through Prodigy. I'm not going to go through all the settings, but you have all the settings here. And you also have a help application. Basically, the help application, you have access to the YouTube tutorials. So this kind of webinar will be posted on YouTube. You have access. What it's going to do, I'm going to go directly to the YouTube application that is installed on the tablet. You can give feedback. It's an anonymous feedback, so I cannot contact you back, but you can still rate your comments, and this helps a lot when developing and trying to see what kind of new features we can add to the Mat Connect or the Prodigy Connect 12. This really helps the feedback, or if you have any problems or things like that, let us know. And sometimes we catch that, let's say our servers are down, and we catch it through here sometimes. So this is a pretty cool feature to get feedback from you guys. And one last thing to finish it off, if that's not enough, if you need more applications from the Google Store, you can go out to Android just by using either 5 fingers or 4 fingers, press and hold on the screen. So you just press your 5 fingers on the screen and you're out into the world of Android. So this is your standard Android interface. It's Android 6.0 that is installed on the Mat Connect. But basically, you have access to all the applications that you would have access to through a normal or mainstream tablet. I think that goes through everything I had to cover, and we went through a lot. Actually, now we're in 10 minutes through this tutorial. Do we have another? I think we do have another poll questions, right?
We do. Yeah, we actually have 2 if we want to do them.
There you go.
I did have one thing to clarify as well, Eric. I was able to verify so we would be 100% certain, but we do include the Bluetooth keyboard with the Connect 12.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, so I think we can go.
I guess we could go to this one, a true/false question. In the advanced interface, holding 5 fingers on the screen will take you to the Android desktop. True or false? 5 fingers on the screen will take you to the Android desktop. True or false?
Kind of a convenient question to ask, right? Considering that we just covered that.
And if you have any more questions, it's a great time to throw those in the chat right now, since we're at a bit of a break here.
I guess we could ask the question too, for 4,000 bonus points. 5 fingers will get you to the Android desktop, but what other combination of fingers will also get you there? So, all right. So Eric, what most folks are weighing in with true? So,
That is correct. So
all
you
right.
can use 2 gestures actually to go out into the Android interface. The 5-finger press and hold. So you just take your 5 fingers, just press and hold on the screen, or you can use 4 fingers and press and hold. So those are 2 gestures that bring you out to the Android system. And to come back, you can find the Android, or you can find, we call it here at HumanWare, a Joy Boy. That's our kind of logo or icon at HumanWare. And that's the Joy Boy for the application Prodigy. Tap on that, it's going to come back to Prodigy automatically.
So Paul, do you want to ask the last question?
Sure, we can ask that last question.
All right.
Which interface provides you with access to the Desmos calculator? Check all that apply. The basic, the standard, or the advanced. Which interface provides you with access to the Desmos calculator? Basic, standard, or advanced? Check all that apply.
And so Eric, as the audience is considering that question, we did have a question that popped up a little bit earlier about access to BARD materials. And the question was fairly general in terms of, can you access BARD materials with the Prodigy software? And my response to it is that you'd be able to download the BARD Android app and access the BARD materials there. Just to clarify, the library tool that exists within the Prodigy app, is that able to access BARD materials as well?
But I think the BARD application is installed by default on the Matt Connect in the APH toolbox, if I'm not mistaken. So if I go into my APH toolbox, I should see BARD here, if I'm not mistaken. There we go, BARD mobile. It's in the list, so it should be automatically installed as you take out the Matt Connect from the box. So that's and that's the BARD application that you just tap on, and you can use that.
All right. And what was the answer to that that last poll question that Paul asked? Which of the interfaces is the Desmos calculator available in?
It is available on the advanced mode, on the advanced interface. So most of the people I see got it right, and yeah, so it's available on the advanced. It's the application farther left of the carousel. So I'm open to questions. We went through a lot today, a lot of features, especially on the advanced. There's a lot more, but I don't want to overdo it. But I'm available for questions. If you guys are having problems, issues, or even comments, we can use the chat to answer any questions you guys may have.
Well, why don't we go into discoveries, Paul, and then we can
Absolutely, we'll do that. And then if the questions come in, we can still handle those. Yeah. But as we've seen today, there are definitely tools available to help teachers lead their students through the different interfaces of the Matt Connect, and at the same time track student progress. So you can go through, you can help them move up, and you can see how they're doing, and make sure that you're the one that decides when they move and not them. There are several different key factors to consider when you're determining if a student is ready to use the next interface. We went through quite a number of them. And as you know your students, you'll know pretty much what, you can give it a try and see how they do. The locking mechanism, very important. It helps protect your investment in the Matt Connect. And it also allows older students to use the tablet on their own, but protects the tablet from students who might not be ready to have it unlocked. So a very important mechanism, safety feature, investment protector.
So Eric, I'm not sure that you mentioned anything about the locking mechanism. And if you did, I apologize, but maybe if you wanted to just take a moment to maybe explain a little bit more detail, the locking mechanism that's available that protects that tablet.
Yeah, I did mention it really at the beginning of the webinar when we were setting it up for the basic interface. So the locking mechanism on the Mat Connect to hold the tablet in the tablet tray, there's a little clip that you just pull down and you can really undock the tablet. But that we discovered with time is that young students or any student, they play around with that clip, and by playing around with that clip, they can accidentally unclip the tablet. So what we've added is, I don't know if I can get a good angle here so that I can show you, but there is a hole right there on the side of the clip, in the front of the clip, and that's to place a screw. So now all the new Mat Connects come with that hole with the screw and a little screwdriver that you can screw in there. And by doing that, it's going to lock the clip in place. So even though you try to pull the clip, it's not, the clip is not going to move at all. It's not going to budge. And really, young students, that's awesome. So that they don't, like I said, pull the clip and the tablet falls. I see there's things in the chat that are coming in.
Yeah, first is, will this webinar be available online? That's for Jim.
Yep, the answer to that question is yes. You'll need to give us a little bit of time, but those are all of the Access Academy webinars are posted to the APH YouTube channel.
And what's the best way to get the replacement battery for a distance camera?
You can reach out to the HumanWare customer support.
Yep.
That would be the easiest. Or right now, I don't know if I can show my setup here, but what I do to maybe extend the life of my distance camera, because it's a really small battery that's in that camera, I connect a USB cable to an external battery pack. So if you have this handy, any kind of battery pack will do, and it will charge at the same time. They're not really expensive, and it works great.
And we have a question about the exam mode. You might want to just briefly touch on that.
Wow. So that means that people are updated, because that's something that we added recently. And the exam mode locks out a couple of features that you don't want the student to be using while in exam mode. And to do that, you go into your settings application and you scroll down until you see exam mode, and you tap on exam mode. Now in this interface, or in this menu, what you have here, the first option on the top is exam mode on or off. So if I tap on this, it's going to change it to on. I'm not going to do it right now. It gives you, you can set a start time, and when you tap on the start time, there's a button banner that appears with a plus and a minus. If I do a plus, it's going to go by increment of an hour. So I can set it. I can set it for tomorrow if I want to at midnight. Oops. But let's keep it at now, and I can even set it to now. So I'm just going to go back to now. But this is to start your exam mode. You can set also a duration. So if I set it to now, my default duration is 2 hours. So it's going to last for 2 hours, or I think I can go down. Yeah, it's by increment by 30 minutes increment. So I can go up by 30 minutes increment. I can, after that, disable different features in Prodigy. So the first one, well, first of all, the default is going to be all disabled, but I can enable these features in Prodigy if I want to. So exit to Android. So if I don't want the student to access the Android system, I can disable that or enable that. I can disable or enable the capture and the gallery. I can again disable or enable the books application, calculator application, or the notes application. So I'm going to keep them all disabled for this this example, and I will turn on just by tapping exam mode off. I'm going to turn it on and then hit the back button. it's going to ask me for a PIN number. And again, don't get the student in front of you when you hit or you try to find out what PIN you're going to use, because that's your PIN. So I'm going to write one. I'm going to just use 4 sevens here, and it's a 4-digit PIN. Once you're done, either the blue button on the keyboard or the little paper airplane on the top left, on the top right corner of the screen. And we're into exam mode. So I've disabled the gallery, so I shouldn't be able to go into my gallery anymore. I also disable capture mode. So if I go into my magnifier, I'm still allowed going into my magnifier, but the capture button is grayed out. Well, it should be grayed out. It's not grayed out. It's going to tell me that I'm not allowed. So when I'm going to press the capture, it's going to tell me that I'm not allowed. I'm in exam mode. Same for the books application or the notes application. I've disabled everything. I cannot use that. And if I want to go out to Android, I cannot anymore. So I'm stuck in Prodigy. And right now, the only thing I can use is my magnifier to do my exam in live mode. So that's a bit of the exam mode. What you can do and what can be interesting is you can create a new account for exams and set the Prodigy for that exam if you want to also. And to do that, I'm just going to turn off my exam mode. So when I want to turn off my exam mode, I went a bit too fast here, but I won't. I go into my settings application, scroll down to exam mode, and then tap on exam mode. And the first thing that it's going to ask me is to enter my PIN number because the exam mode is on. Send that. And then just tap on exam mode on to turn it off. And that will turn off my exam mode. So it really disables features that you can have access to on their Mac Connect. But like I was saying, you can create a new user in the Android system and use that also for your exam mode and set different features in that user. And to do that, just go on the top here, just use your finger and go on the top, or go, I know what I'll do. I'll go into my Android, go into all the applications, and then select settings in Android. And in my settings in Android, I should have here an option called users. Yes, users. So it's in the category device. So users, and I can create a user here, and it's going to create a completely new profile on this tablet. So you can use that as your exam profile. So we went through the exam mode. Awesome.
Yep. Cool. We did have a question that came in about YouTube and accessing tutorials and webinars related to the Mac Connect. I shared a search term you can use as well as the link to the Mac Connect playlist on the HumanWare website. So, or HumanWare channel rather. So if you need that link, just copy it right out of the chat and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, or you can go into the APH channel also. They have all the webinars.
Yep.
All right, Paul, you don't want to give everybody just some final details about the Mac Connect available through APH, and then we'll
Absolutely.
share a closing code.
Yep. So the Mac Connect is available on quota or without. Price is $2,995 for all situations, all users, quota and otherwise. And it is available. The things, the keyboard and the other things that were discussed are going to come with it. Feel free to send any questions you have to our customer service. And if you have any things that need to be taken care of, it is available to you. The link, Sully is posting that as well for you. And we thank you for joining us today. And he's about to give you your closing code.